grateful and I'm blessed to be here, and I want to thank the people behind the scenes and in front of the scenes today. Actually, what happened was I was sitting at my desk here at work a few weeks ago, and you know how sometimes you get an email and you're actually sitting there live when it happens, and it said that somebody had to back out and they needed another TEDx speaker, and so I just went like this and enter and send, and this happened. Okay, so you know, there's been lots of times in my life that opportunities present themselves, and then there's fear there. Okay, and I don't carry through with that, but I kind of learned a process of getting past that fear and taking some action, and it's got me to good places in my life. So anyway, so this is my topic, you know, and this is not, I'm not going to give you research on relationships, importance between student and teacher. I'm going to give you my journey of figuring that out for myself. So my introduction into the educational world, okay, didn't happen in preschool, because I don't know if they had preschool back then, okay? It happened in kindergarten, okay? And I'm going to go to kindergarten, right, okay? And the school was right across the street from my house. And here's all I remember about kindergarten. There was a very, very, very old woman teacher. I mean, she was old, but you know what? She was probably like 44, you know? But anyway, supposedly I was scared to death of her, but here's what happened. If you were bad, okay, you had to stand in the trash can, okay? And all I knew is my goal throughout the year was not to have to stand in the trash can, and I never did, and I survived. And I think the only prerequisite back then was you had to be toilet trained, and I took care of that. I just used the bathroom at my house and then didn't go at school and then used it when I got back home. So, but anyway, as I got a little older, went through elementary school, and then into middle school, I finally met a teacher that I started relating to and enjoying and being around, and I started learning from this guy. And he was a science teacher, and we called him Mr. T. Okay, not like the Mr. T from Mr. T, but anyway. But the thing about this guy is I found out later that him and my dad were actually friends, and the teacher sometimes would come over to my house and like eat supper with us and stuff and do things, and we'd go outside, and he was a science teacher, so we'd talk about nature or whatever. But anyway, I started this great relationship with him, and he actually was kind of a reason where I thought, well, you know what, maybe I want to be a teacher someday. Man, a defining moment in my life. I have a younger brother who was born with a disability. What happened was when my mom gave birth to him, there was some trauma at birth. Oxygen was cut off, and he was born with something called cerebral palsy. So as this young guy starts coming to school, anybody who is a sibling or a parent of a child with special needs, okay, we're a little bit different, okay? So now not only am I looking at in the world of school as my relationships to teachers, I'm also watching how teachers and people treat him, okay? And that's kind of a whole new avenue of relationships and watching out. And you know, I didn't want anybody to harm him, you know. He's probably the reason why in the future I get into the world of special education, you know. Going through high school, you know, I didn't have really any educators that, I don't know, really moved me that much, you know. I had some favorites. I got into theater, believe it or not, okay, and I loved the lady that taught that. But when I got to college, and chose special education for my major, I started meeting education teachers, and it eventually led me to student teaching in Indianapolis, and my cooperating teacher was another old woman, okay? But you know what? She was probably like in her 50s maybe, but anyway, she's this little thing, and I liked her, and we started a really good relationship, and she taught me a lot. So what happened was, okay, the little special ed history, okay? So there was this law passed in the 80s that said students with disabilities must be served in the classroom that's most normal, that's most typical, okay? Well, when a law passes, it just doesn't change overnight. There's a process. So I go to Indianapolis to student teach in this school. It is a school just for children with disabilities, okay? So, wow, right? And I'm in a classroom with this cooperating teacher, this lady, okay? And she introduces me to children with all kinds of disabilities. But there's this one boy there, there's this one little boy there, and he didn't look like there was anything wrong with him. And I couldn't figure it out, you know. Some kids were in wheelchairs, some had speech delays, cognitive delays, a lot of them couldn't talk, okay. And this boy, okay, he's my example of the student can start a relationship with the teacher, okay. So anyway, he called me Jack, okay, which I couldn't figure out, okay. Well, the deal was, okay, I grew up in the 80s, okay? There's a scary movie called An American Werewolf in London, okay? And he thought I looked like Jack because I had a backpack when I went to school, and I thought that was pretty cool. But anyway, why he's watching that movie is for a different TED Talk. But anyway, me and this little boy started a great relationship, and I didn't find out till much later that the reason why this boy was in that classroom with all these other children with major disabilities is because when he was born, he had some kind of a malfunction with his system, and he was never going to be able to be toilet trained, okay? So he was going to have to wear a diaper for the rest of his life. And believe it or not, he was in a classroom, he was in a school of just kids with disabilities because he had to wear a diaper, and a nurse had to change him a couple times a day. So, man, that's a way, okay, for me to talk to my students and the world about the importance of inclusion. Anyway, so when I get out of college, I eventually, believe it or not, I start working with 3 to 5 year olds, okay? 3 to 5 year olds with and without special needs. I met a little boy named Christopher at age 4. He was placed in my classroom, and man, I learned a lot from this guy. At the time, he was the child with the worst behavior I've ever seen, okay? And it's like, I found that going in. They're like, you know, you're gonna get this child in your class. And I read his report, oh man. And the thing about this little boy is, when he was born, okay, he was abused by his mom and dad and taken out of the home. And between birth and the time he was in my room, he was in 17 different foster homes, okay? So he had never formed a relationship or attachment with anybody, okay? He was eventually diagnosed with a term called reactive attachment disorder. But anyway, he's in my room, okay? And I've got to educate this guy, okay? But first of all, I've got to learn to like him, okay? And this is where I learned the process of, okay, here's how I learned to like a kid I don't like. I have to act as if I like him, okay? And how do I act as if I like him? Well, what are the actions I would do as if I like him, okay? Here's what I would do. When everybody's doing activities in the room, I choose to sit by him, okay? When I read a story to the classroom in a group, I have him sit by me. I start talking to him more, giving him attention, allowing him to be first. I start doing all these actions as if he's my favorite kid, okay? And what happens over time, the next thing I know, somebody on staff mentions something about my boy Chris, and it offends me, and I'm thinking, when did I start liking him? You know, when did I start liking him? And that works. So also during this time, I met a little boy named Ryan, and Ryan was to become my first child with autism that I was going to teach. And here's your little history lesson on autism, okay? So a long time ago, when autism first came about, when I was in college, there was this theory that here's the cause of autism. Mothers of children with autism have chosen to be so cold, so as if the child was unwanted. They didn't give the child the nurturing that they deserved, so the child turned inward. and became autistic, okay? So when I graduated from college and I start my first job and I'm introduced to my first child named Brian with autism, I remember my thought process of, man, I can't wait to meet this mom and see how she acts, okay? And what I discovered was just the opposite, you know. It was during this time in my career that I discovered the importance of the triangle, okay? The triangle of relationships, which is child, teacher, and parent, okay? And man, did I learn so much from this child's mom. This little boy was, children and adults with autism often have obsessive characteristics, okay? And some odd things about them, which is great. This little boy was obsessed with toothbrushes and pom-poms, okay? But anyway, so she told me this story. They could never go to Walmart because he wanted to buy every toothbrush and toothpaste in the store. And if she didn't, then he caused this big scene. So she told me this. So she said, when we go to Walmart, okay, and he has his thing that everybody looks at, because you know everybody looks at you at Walmart, okay, her coping method was she turns to him and says, Ryan, now you need to straighten up because when we get home, we'll have to tell your mom how you're acting, okay? I think, oh my God. She's pretending to be the babysitter instead of the parent, and I love that. And we started a great relationship, and this little boy I watched him graduate from high school, which is awesome. Here in college, I learned about this lady, okay, and she taught me a lot about relationships. This is she's famous to me, educator, school counselor, and assistant principal, Rita Pearson, okay, and I love what she said. Kids don't learn from teachers they don't like, period. Kids don't learn from teachers they don't like. So here I am as an educator, so my first thought is, they gotta like me. They gotta like me. If my job performance is somewhat based on grades students get, the first thing I need to do is I gotta get them to like me, okay? And just going back, you know, all of us teachers, we all think, okay, the first days of school, they gotta learn the routine. They gotta learn what the rules are, all this stuff. But really the first things is we gotta start relationship building. And this lady taught me that. So one thing that I do with my students, okay, so I have education students, special education students here at OCU, okay, and they are becoming teachers, okay. And one thing that we talk about this piggy bank, okay, and all the start of the school year for all of us, okay, we start putting deposits in the piggy bank to build relationships, okay. And that comes through countless ways, you know, things like giving this child attention, finding out their name, finding out their interests, sharing time with them, proximity. Proximity means standing beside the child and listening, okay? Because we need to put in all these deposits because guess what? Sometime during the school year, and it happens sooner or later, we teachers, we got to start making withdrawals, okay? And withdrawals are when something's not going right. And here's the deal. When I was in trouble, younger in school, okay, if I was in trouble, if a teacher that was just watching recess or whatever had to get after me that I didn't know, it didn't bother me. But if it was a teacher I cared about and they had to get after me about my behavior or correct me, it hurt my feelings and I changed. I didn't like that. So we make piggy banks, okay? And we work on putting deposits in before we have to take out withdrawals. So I love this line. Okay, there's a typo there, so I'm saying it so you guys don't have to call me out on it because I'm not perfect. This is a line, it actually came from Stephen King's Stand By Me movie, which is like the male figure's favorite movie of all time. You know, for us teachers, children come in and out of our lives like bus boys in a busy restaurant. And you know, over time, you know, I'm at Walmart or wherever, and I run into families from the past and children, and I don't remember all of them. Remember a lot of them. I remember the ones that I had a good relationship with. So there was this little girl. I'm gonna tell you about this little girl here. So yeah, this is me with hair, some hair back in the day. But this little girl, I was blessed to work with her when I worked with my 3 to 5 year olds. Okay, And what's interesting about this is, okay, here's one thing, I didn't see this coming. When I started teaching at the community college, many years later, she ended up being one of my early childhood education students. And wow, I taught her at 5 years old. Now I'm teaching her at 18, okay? Which was awesome. Few years later, she shows up, and now she's an employee at the school where I'm working at, okay? And we get to co-teach together, her as a paraprofessional or assistant, and me as a teacher. Wow, I never saw that coming. Talk about relationships that have built over time and grown. You know, that was awesome. Here's my ending story. You may know this, okay? You may have heard this before. I tried this with my one of my classes the other day, and I don't think any of them heard it before, but this so relates to the importance of relationships and the changes and the growth that can happen. So here's the story. It's the starfish story. So my version goes like this, okay? So there's this old man that lives near the beach, and every morning he goes for a walk on the beach, okay? And one morning he's walking like usual, but this morning happened to be the morning after a bad storm, okay? And the beach was covered in starfish, okay, on the beach, okay? And way in the distance, he saw a little boy, and the little boy was picking up starfish and throwing them back in the ocean. By the time the old man got to the little boy, he asked, "What are you doing, son?" And the little boy said, "I'm trying to get these starfish back into the ocean. Soon the sun will be up high in the sky, and it will kill the starfish, and I'm trying to save as many as I can." And the old man said, "There are thousands of starfish here. You can't possibly make a difference." And the little boy takes a starfish and throws it in the ocean and says, "Made a difference to him." Okay. Thank you for having me today.